In acting, man, we always speculate, man, sex scenes. Sex scenes, we know they're not real. What's the process of, those type of scenes?
From my experience, that's the thing, people being comfortable. Right. People have husbands, wives, people have mates, people have kids, but people have, they want to pay their bills and they want to give themselves over to this art fully when they have a moment like that. So I think that everyone has their own process. Again, you have your own techniques, how you get into character. And once you're there and they say action, from the camera angles to who the director is, everybody's protecting everybody.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted.
Episode of Boss Moves, the podcast, where I am your host, DB Clips. We have a special guest today, another episode, and this guest here is actually a really good friend of mine. I won't call him my old head. I won't call him my old head, but he's like a big brother to me growing up. We actually lived on the same street growing up, and he was always somebody that was motivating me, pushing me, coming up. But this individual is definitely a successful individual. He's on his way to doing really, really big things. This individual has had acting roles in a hit TV series, The Resident, also First Lady, and he actually starred in the hit movie in 2023, Ruined. Yeah, so everybody, let's welcome actor and motivational speaker, Travon McEntyre.
Thank you, man. That was a nice introduction.
You like that?
Been doing this.
I did a little research. I did my research. Did my research.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, man. So what's life been like, man? What's going on with Travon today?
Well, it's been a journey and a process. I think I define anything by the journey. The journey that we go on from the beginning when we get into things and have no clue,
right,
to going through some of the ups, many of the downs, and getting to present day where things start to kind of smooth out. You kind of start to learn your own process. I'm in my mid-30s now, so I've seen enough to know when I need to pull back from something and when I need to, lean in. So I think that the journey's been amazing so far. It's been very, very challenging, but we're here.
Yeah,
we're here.
You're into acting now, but before you actually decided to pursue an acting career, what was life like for you then, as far as like coming up? What was your interest? What was your just things that you actually enjoy doing?
Well, from the beginning of my life, I was grew up in a small town called Forest City, where you from. We both from. Just to reiterate, and the challenge was being somewhere that was very small. And in hindsight, now I look back, knowing that we didn't have the resources that many people that we ended up facing in sports, basketball and football, had. So I think that being a smaller kid at all times, and when I was young, I was a slower kid than everybody. I developed late. To my time frame, I developed late. So in the younger years, I took some lumps. Even though my dad was coaching me, I never started on my dad's team. Shouts out to Larry Ross.
Coach. That's a real coach too.
Yeah.
That's a real coach. If you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. My dad was Travis, but my other coach, Coach Larry Ross, never actually started on his team. And they pushed me, challenged me to a point to where it instilled things in me that, once I got older, I was able to use throughout anything that any challenge I took on. But outside of sports, I grew up where we would be in and out of church until my dad became a pastor. And we was in church consistently around the time I turned 12 or 13, 14. That gave me a foundation in my life to be able to always think back and, reach up to God's hand and know that he had me. He had his hand on me in anything I went through, good or bad. Got into high school. In middle school, I was still kind of slower and weaker than everybody, playing basketball and football. Got into high school and started overly training. My dad taught me to train beyond what anybody around me trained because he was sick of me complaining about people not giving me a chance. And we all know that this world ain't giving you nothing
at all.
It ain't giving you nothing. It may place things in front of you, but you're gonna have to eat. You're gonna eat that food. And once he showed me how to overly train, I would run before school at times. I would have these strength shoes he bought me.
I remember that vividly.
Yeah.
I remember that vividly. Like, so the road that we lived on, the street that we lived on, it was actually a pretty steep hill, that we had to actually, go up to actually go out of the neighborhood. And I never forget, man, when I was a kid coming up, and I would go outside sometimes and I'd see Travon, man, he would be literally down at the bottom of the hill with the shrimp shoes. For those that don't know what those are, it's pretty much like a shoe with like a, not a heel, but like a calf raise on it. And basically makes it to where you walk on your tippy toes. And man, I would, literally see Travon like sprinting, like he's doing sprints, like running up the hill in those shrimp shoes. Yeah. And like he said, man, like I don't really remember that far back, to when he was really, kind of like he said, slow. Because all I've known Travon to be is fast. Like when it was kind of like I was going through that process with him while you were training, like seeing it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing you put the work in. I'm seeing you train. And then, man, it's like a year later, bro. He's like one of the quickest people in the county. Like really, like just not only quickest, but one of the fastest too. So yeah, man, that in itself was motivational for me, because I think at that time, and I was 6th, 7th grade, something like that. Kind of, what I'm saying, I'm good at ball and stuff like that or whatever, but I never saw or really had the motivation to really like put the work in and really like train the way you train your body, man. So like I said, that was definitely inspirational, man. So I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, it's all good. Well, just to to speed the story up, just kind of that overtraining that my dad instilled in me. Me and a friend named Tamiko Kelly and another friend named Giorgio Lawrence.
Shout out Miko, shout out Giorgio.
We played together at our high school, and in the summertime, my coach told us you had to get 16 workouts, and we came through, behind other guys who worked very hard, and we saw some of them make progress, some of them fall off, some of them didn't take it serious enough because they didn't have enough competition. So we vowed to each other that we wouldn't miss a single workout unless there was an emergency. And I think we had the opportunity to get about 40 workouts in the summer, but we only had to get 16. Yeah. My friend Tamiko had a truck, and we would hop on the back of that truck. It would be like 6 of us. And we ended up with between 35 and 37 workouts that year because we would do 2 a day some. And I think that that was important to us because that year coming in, that football season, we were said to be last in the conference prior to the season. And we only had enough players to literally go 2 ways and maybe a few more to trickle down because we went to a 2A school. Right. We ended up going that year. We only lost 2 games. We got number 1 in the conference, and we went very deep into the playoffs, went to the 3rd round of the playoffs that year, and lost to the state champions, which was Shelby, which was an amazing process. But I said all of that to say that anything that I came to in life, after about 22, 23, when I went to college, and however things went, and then I kept, proceeding to go through life, I thought to myself, like, yo, you're starting to stalemate.
Right.
When was the time in your life where you made the most progress, right? And I couldn't figure out why. I was like, well, I did jump on the football field, but I was always, I had the dog mentality, just didn't have the dog speed and strength. Right. But I remember the work ethic that my pops told me that I had to have to make it. And I just began to work like that again. And that's when I met the mental health field. And that took me a long way financially and allowed me to show some of my friends what it was like to be somewhat at the time financially stable, had a nice house, a nice car, something that we just didn't grow up seeing at a younger age. Right. And I think that set the tone for how things continued to play out up until that point. Yeah.
Piggyback off of that, man. Like I vividly, like I said, and that wasn't really that long ago, but when you actually got into the mental health field, you kind of being that guy in your 20s, or late 20s that.
I was actually early to mid 20s.
Or mid 20s.
So it was 23 when
I was high school. I was.
Yeah, you were still in high school when
18,
I first started
19.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that vividly, man. And like I said, man, Travon was the, at that time, man, he was the big dog, in terms of finances and having and stuff like that. Now let me I want to kind of segue into this, man, because like I said, you were in a position to where you were making money, and I never even asked you this question, even off camera or even back then, but what made you want to really pursue acting and pretty much kind of, and I don't think if I'm I just want to make sure I'm sure, but I'm not completely sure. Did you completely give up the mental health profession or the job that you had, did you give that up to actually pursue acting, or was it kind of like did you kind of transition into it slowly, with still keeping your client and everything like that? What was that process?
Well, and I can't tell that end part without
Gotcha.
telling a little bit in between.
Gotcha.
Mental health. So I first got my first acting bug in college. I was at college. I was on the football team. The football team, it was boring at my school. It was a private school.
Gotcha.
And we went to this open mic. And there was this young lady by the name of Yolanda. She was performing a monologue. And I had never seen anything like this in person in my life. It was something about a little boy. And she was telling such an amazing story to where I literally had tears in my eyes at the end of it. And I'm a football player. We all in there muscular and tough. But she had everybody activated in that room. And I remember walking up to her and saying, yo, how did you remember all of that? Or did you make it up? She said, no, that was word for word. That's a monologue. Mm-hmm. She explained it to me. And it did something to me, but I didn't know it was going to do what it did.
Right.
So years later, as I got into the mental health field, I was working with a company that I was kind of not feeling. Mm-hmm. The agency I was partnering with at the time, I wasn't feeling because of the way that they were taking care of their employees. And it was this one young lady, Marilyn, that was in the office. And they were like on an exit meeting. They just called this exit meeting that they wanted me to do. And they were like, so off the record, what is something that you did like about our company? And I said, you know what, that young lady in there, I said, she always keeps everybody informed. She's a very nice person, and she always has y'all's back. And I appreciate her loyalty to y'all as well. Boom. We got out of there. She used to act on stage plays.
Okay. And
that day, I left, and I just let her know that, I appreciate it or whatever. And I told her I'm gonna come to one of your stage plays, and I never made it to a stage play. Mm-hmm. And it was someone on the internet one day. It was me. I decided when I was starting to follow people and learn about progression and being a motivational speaker and being just a upstanding person and a thinker.
Right.
I was trying to learn how to be a real thinker, and I would listen to Denzel Washington and Will Smith all the time. I would listen to Denzel Washington and Will Smith all the time. And I was like, why do I listen to them so much like this? Like, we think so much alike, though. Right. It was like they just knew how to put it into words. Mm-hmm. And I just went on the internet, Facebook, because back then I used to type these dope motivational statuses, like 30 or 40 a day. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, stop typing all that. Just put it in a book.
Right.
Didn't know how to. People didn't do that where it was from.
Yeah.
We didn't think it was possible.
Exactly.
And one day I just posted on it. I said, man, thinking about doing this acting thing or trying it out. What y'all think about it? And everybody who was a fan of mine from football or basketball or knew of me, they saw something in me that I never would have thought about seeing in myself. Plenty of people just came and like, you should do it, you should try it. So I contacted that girl. I was like, hey, those stage plays that you do that I never come to, you think I'd be good at that? She was like, oh my God, Travon, I never thought about that. I think you would be amazing. And that was the thing. I said, God must have something in there for me.
Right.
So she tells me about an audition that's a month down the road. She's like, yeah, you should just go to this, try it out. They'll send the script out right before you go. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just go be me. I'm gonna go be T-Mac. So 2 weeks ahead, she's like, it's another audition. Go to that one first. It's 2 hours before the one I want you to really book. So I walk into the film audition, 2 weeks later, and I start auditioning, and I flub up. I mess up. And I never have felt nervous before. I mean, football, I did it since I was 6 years old, 7 years old. Basketball, I did this. I don't care what the crowd is. But this was different. Somebody was judging me for real this time, right there in my face. So I messed up, and they asked me to sing a song. I sung a gospel song. I left. I walked out after singing a gospel song, and when I finished up, I hit the button. They were like, all right, we're fine, we're good. And it was this guy sitting over there in the corner. He was just looking at me with a still face like, and later I found out it was his wife who was auditioning me. He was the other person that was producing the project. I left out and I hit the button on the elevator to get on, and I stepped back in there and I was like, I cussed. Like, I didn't do it right. You know what I'm saying? Before I left out of the parking lot, they asked me to come back. And when I came back, he was like, we want you for the role. We liked the song that you sung, and we liked how how committed you were to the character. We know that you're the guy. So that day they had the call back there. They were just waiting on that last role, and I booked it. That film never shot, but now I felt confident.
Right.
So an hour later, I pull up over at the other one. Man, I've been doing this.
Got it. Got it in the bag.
And no, and actually that's the one where the wife and the husband was at. This one was just a guy who had believed in me, and I didn't even know that when I walked through the door, he already had the idea.
Right.
But the second one was intimidating because the guy was just sitting over there like stale face looking at me. His wife was auditioning me. And I mean, you know, back then I thought I was a little suave guy.
Right.
And they had an older lady. They had an older lady read the script with me, and it was supposed to be me trying to talk to a girl or whatever.
Right.
So I just put on my little suave, you know, my vibe, and got to talking to her, and he kept his stale face. I left. 2 weeks later, they called me. I booked the role. That was a stage play that I did in Charlotte, North Carolina. They ended up doing 3 shows, 3 sold-out shows, actually. And that was it, man. After that, I just started studying real hard and learning off YouTube first.
Yeah, YouTube.
To build myself in understanding the business side of acting, because I knew that it was something special that God had placed right inside of me that would give me the platform to share all of the things that I had developed, you know, throughout my experiences.
That's a lot. That was a lot to unpack. That's definitely a journey. So I know that typically, you know, whenever we start to say, you know, all right, I'm going to pursue being an actor, you know, you had some auditions that you went to, but you know, we all know that aspiring actors, they have to eventually go to acting classes and things of that nature. So what was your initial thoughts of you know, basically acting classes whenever you know started to do those?
I knew that it was going to be a lot that I had to learn. Right. I knew that it was more to it than what meets the eye.
Right.
Because of, like I said, Denzel Washington, Will Smith, people like that. It was something more intense about the way that they created these characters and the way that they even talked about success that I needed to figure out.
Right.
And I just, like I said, off the YouTube things, it was this casting director from out in L.A. She's very direct. So direct to where it was intimidating.
Right.
She would talk about the things that you should do and what you shouldn't do and what you shouldn't believe about acting, what you should do. You should quit if you're doing this or that. And I just took the good out of it. I just filtered everything else out and took the good out of it. And one thing that I remember her saying was, you need to work hard enough to rise to be someone that people in that area call, and then you move to the Atlantas, the L.A., and start to make your way. Okay. And I knew I had a lot of work to do from there. And so I got into a class in Charlotte, talked to some mentors, and I got into a class in Atlanta. And once I left the class in Charlotte, I started driving to Atlanta to take Dwayne Boyd, shout out to Dwayne Boyd, Premier Actors Network in Atlanta. I started taking his classes, and it's been history ever since. That's one of my major mentors and brothers in the industry who has taught me a lot and taught me how to, you know, study roles and really dig my way out and create these characters and be able to affect the people, you know, and bring these messages forward.
That's what's up, man. And so I hear a lot, you know, there's a term that a lot of people use within that world, the acting world, a thespian. So what's the difference between an actor and then a thespian? I guess actor. What's the difference between that?
I think that's just a term because thespius was a part of the beginning history of acting and when it started to evolve, right? Okay. You would have to do a lot of reading to truly understand that, but some people would say we're like the children of thespian. Right. Thespius. Okay. So you call yourself thespians. There's a lot of history and a lot of different books and the techniques that you hear about acting. Usually, everyone has a technique that they use to build characters. Right. And to create a life around these characters and how they study their history and build their history. If you don't like most actors say, you should be reading books, studying scripts at all times. Don Cheadle actually said it. He said, you don't have to just be on screen on stage to be acting. Right. You know, do you even read plays? You know, do you watch films? Do you read scripts? That's when you know that you're truly involved in doing what you're indebted to do as an actor. Yeah. So yeah, you would have to study a lot of history to even understand that part. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So when we say, okay, you book a role, and what I really want to know, man, is getting in character. How is it, or what's your process with embodying a role or embodying a character to really take it on and really because I know I read something one time where it was talking about Vin Diesel, right? Vin Diesel, you know, he was doing he did the movie The Chronicles of Riddick, right? He did the Chronicles of Riddick, and I read something where for that particular role, he would literally go out into the wood, like basically like go out into the wilderness, because that was kind of what the character embodied. He would go out into the wilderness and kind of spend X amount of time out there to really get his mind in that state to be able to come back and kill that role. And I mean, he's killed that role. And then vice versa, you know, I read that when he does like the Fast and Furious, he surrounds himself with family, like just a lot of different people that, you know, he genuinely cares for, loves, or whatever. So that energy transfers over when it's time to actually start the film. So what's your process, man, whenever you're going to embody a character that may not be your typical personality, you know what I mean, but something outside of your comfort zone? What's your process with embodying something like that?
It can be a bunch of different things, right? You can have a lot of people take from other people's experiences that they witnessed, right? You may go, and some people may even go and interview people about, you know, the things they go through, read books. Some people take from their own life experiences, and some people, you know, you might even just use completely your own imagination.
Right.
Everybody has so many different ways that they may do it, and they may do it one way for one character, other ways for other characters. And there are these studies called techniques, different types of techniques, and I feel like they're all intertwined in some ways. Right. But yeah, that's it. You just try to pull from whatever makes you feel like you can, I guess I want to say, tether to this character and bring forth the message, you know, in the most beneficial way for the onlookers. You know,
Right.
So it can be a lot of deep study, a lot of deep self-seeking, and it can take you on a serious journey at times, both good and sometimes it's not so good. Yeah. But it's all for the same, you know, goal to bring a message forward that you believe in. Right. You know, that you believe in.
So yeah, so with playing multiple roles and you know, diverse roles, like you said, the Denzels, the Will Smiths, they typically are the ones that play those roles. 1 minute they're, you know, the good guy, 1 minute they're the bad guy, 1 minute they're, you know what I mean? So as far as mental health, with embodying these roles, because I know sometimes certain roles can take you down, like I said, dark paths. How hard is it to kind of, I guess, bring yourself out of those roles? Once the film is done, how hard is it to turn that off? Because I feel like when you've kind of studied, or you kind of, like I said, just kind of embraced a role, it kind of becomes a part of you. You know what I mean? And really, I mean, I feel like it could kind of come a part of you within everyday life.
Right.
Once, like, since you're actually putting the time in to really study or embrace that role. So what are there actually techniques, or are there different things that you guys do or utilize in order to kind of get back to reality and, just real life?
Yeah, and again, everybody has their own process, but with me, I think that was the good thing about me not being a child actor, right, and doing the mental health and things of that nature in life. And I also had a child, right, that was a girl. So I could I could be doing mental health for 7-8 days straight before I see my child again at times. And I would have to pull myself back and be that loving, sensitive, and soft father that she needs at times. Right. So I think that along with the fact that it is actually a study, right, to be able to pull yourself back out, to let go. Right. As is, that's a study we're trying to all figure out in life, right? Right. In life, in love, with the job that went wrong, with our career, our basketball and football careers that don't go the way we want to. Yeah. I think that one of the most important lessons that I learned was no matter when a man or woman stops playing the sport that they grew up, that was a part of their life, and they were elite in any way, no matter if the school was 10 people at the school or 10,000 people at the school, when you stop playing sports, middle school, high school, pro, college, whatever that time is, for many of us who do it that hard, as we explained earlier, at some point, life looks like a clear slate that you don't know where you're going to go from there.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for some of us to figure that out, to find something that fills that void or that fulfills something even deeper than that. So I think that pulling out and letting go are some things that all humans have to learn how to do, and some don't do it as well.
Right.
And that's when you get actors, if you haven't studied those type of techniques and taken that seriously, that can go into a state that they can't get out of. And I think that's why it was so important to me that when I got into acting and I saw that I was studying a book and I saw that where it talked about a whole study, a whole chapter on letting go.
Yeah.
So that's very important to me. So even when we do auditions, we do them just as intense at times as we may do for the film.
Right.
Except when you get on the film, you're doing it over and over and over. But when you are doing an audition, you just do it that few times and push that audition out and let them make whatever decision they're gonna make. But even when you're doing an audition and it's a deep role, you may be playing a psychopath,
Right.
or you may be playing a depressed person or whatever, you're going there.
Right.
If you're really doing this, you're going there.
Yeah.
And it's not a good time for somebody just to walk up and start playing around with you right after it. You need to go through a process, and you need to be aware of where you are and be aware of what you need to do to get you out of that, because it can make you say something mean to somebody or not want to deal with people or drag through your day the next day. So yeah, it's a technique, pulling out and letting go, just like in life. It's serious.
I feel like that's like you said, if it's not anything that you, or if it's something that you haven't studied to really to understand it and to really, like I said, taking it seriously. Yeah, I could see how it could be a thin line of getting there, tipping over, and it's like, all hell break loose. You know what I mean? But yeah, I've always wanted to know that to know the answer to that question, man, because. Like I said, some of these actors, man, they play these roles, and I'm like, y'all play these roles so good. Like, is that really what you going through? You know what I mean? But I think, man, the art of being able to get there, and what I love about, like you talked about Denzel, but I love about Denzel, man, is for him to, I love the Equalizer franchise, especially the very last one, and that, to me, that movie, man, it was. He embodied that character so well in that movie, and you can tell throughout the first two movies, he had some issues, but he was trying to deal with them. But it was like the third movie, he kind of almost hit that tipping scale, because it was like he was darker. You know what I mean? But even so, for him to be able to do a movie like that, to embody a role of that nature, and then to be able to come back out of it, and it's like you see him, and it's like, nah, I'm not. What was his name? John. What was his name?
John.
Not
John Q.
No,
You're talking
in
about
the actual movie, Mr. McCall. For him to not be that, I'm back Denzel. You know what I mean? This is, and because the thing is, I feel like, even when you can't take that home to your wife. You know what I mean? That ain't what your wife signed up for. Not you. You know what I'm saying? Being in that. So. Nah, that's good, man. That's good. I like I said, I definitely wanted to know that information, man, because I've always had questions about that.
Yeah, and I think you said one thing prior to when I did speak earlier that I wanted to speak to. You said you are always, learning these new characters and things like that. It's really about discovering, right? It's not. You can't do anything that you're not capable of, no matter what.
Right.
You can study it as much as you want to. If it's not in you somewhere, you can't do it, right? That being said, acting is a journey of continually discovering new spaces within yourself, right? That you allow the world to see.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's like how you live and what you believe in completely or any of that. How you would even handle that same situation. You may see somebody, if their son had something go on with them and they had to go to the hospital wasn't doing what they're supposed to do. You see somebody run in and hold the whole hospital up.
Right.
Well, that man understands the consequences in real life.
Yeah.
So they couldn't go and do it like that.
Gotcha.
Maybe that would be what they would want to do, because over our children, we'll go to any limits to allow them to live. But it's just not something that would turn out well for you. You won't get what you want in that way.
Right.
So, but you just discover these different things about yourself. That's why I love it, because I'm continually discovering different parts about myself that I never would have understood that I could express in the way I do. You know.
So do you think in that discovering, different things about yourself, I mean, naturally we would say that comes with experience, right? But okay, like I said, the Denzels, the Will Smiths, they've been in it for forever. You know what I mean? So I guess we would kind of think that it would be a little easier for them because they have the experience. But for the younger actors, the Michael B. Jordans and these guys that are able to kind of tap in and kind of when we talk about self-discovery at a younger age, I would say. So do you think that is something that you can actually have at a younger age? Because I think Michael B. Jordan, he started fairly young, I think 14, 15. But do you think that that's something that people can have or actors can have at an early age?
Yeah, I do. It just depends on how much they've studied and who they've studied with. Because just like as an adult, you may get upset because your manager at your job continued to disrespect you every day and never spoke to you like you were a grown man, right? If you had a job. A child may have a teacher who disrespects them every day, tells them they're not smart, or chooses everyone else over them. They have inner thoughts and inner feelings that they may share with their parent. So if they're studying with a coach and he asks them, hey, have you ever been looked over before? Has anyone ever told you that you couldn't do something? And as that kid starts to think about it, they will be able to access that feeling sometimes easier than an adult can.
Got you.
So, yeah, I think they can have truthful feelings at times that they don't know how to express, that if given the opportunity, platform, and the support to do it in a safe space, they may even be that much more vulnerable, right? And that's what we all seek, is to be able to, especially the ones who use their real life experiences or things they've seen other people experience that affected them. Just because I'm upset with a police officer in this role doesn't mean I can't think about the fact that I was upset with that guy that pushed me down on the basketball court that day, that made me irate, or that guy who called my daughter a name or something when we were out in public one day, and used that same anger and rage in a moment where I'm just supposed to be arguing with the officer, right? So you may not experience that exact thing, but you can still use whatever gets you to that point. And from that point, it's just understanding your role and your lines and working with the people and having a relationship with whoever you're working with, right?
Okay. Yeah, man. So from the standpoint of booking a role, we know that within today's society, even within acting and stuff like that, there's a whole lot going on. So I'll ask you, how important is morality and values in terms of choosing which roles you accept versus the ones that you don't accept?
That's a personal, independent to that person decision every single time. A person may not play a role now when they're, let's say in where I'm at in my career, I'm just now scratching the surface, hopefully, of where God is gonna have me go one day, right? I'm just now getting to where I'm starting to make way to the journey that I feel like I'll be able to travel like you say, the Omari Hardwicks, Denzel Washington, Don Cheadle's, all of these people who have done it for so long. They were here at one point at a different age. So I can't even speak of how it would be for a person that has done it to the level they've done it to, the amount of money they've had to look at, the pressures that they've been placed under to provide us with entertainment and to provide these companies with money, So I don't even know how deep it can go when it gets to that level. But from where I'm standing from and the people that I've worked with and talked to, it's a person-to-person decision every time. For me and myself, I let my yays be my yays and my nays be my nays. but I haven't had access to those levels of roles, and I don't speak about anyone else in their decisions about the roles they receive, because you may want to tell a story because your cousin went through it.
Right.
If my cousin hasn't went through whatever that story is being told, I may not care to tell that story,
Right.
you know, or I might just want to stretch myself and try that role, right? But who's to judge why a person does something like that if they feel like the story needs to go forward? And usually that's what an actor makes a decision based upon at the higher levels, the more lead roles. I haven't had those roles in the major productions yet. So, but they make it based upon, is this a story that I think needs to go forward, and am I the one to tell it?
Right.
And if at that point they feel their purpose to tell it, then we should just enjoy the entertainment and watch them work.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. So for yourself, do you feel like you are a versatile actor? Like I said, to be able to portray or embody characters the way of Will Smith or the way of Denzel Washington. Do you think that you could play multiple roles in that asset?
I think that any role that I play would be different from any other man that plays it because it's mine, right? Am I as good as them? I don't think there's any way that's possible, being that they've been doing it for 30, 40 years. I'm not even going to consider myself anywhere near that until
I think what I'm saying is not necessarily are you, because you don't have as much skin in the game as they got. So I understand that. But I guess what I'm asking is, do you feel comfortable? Because I know sometimes people, we see a lot of times certain people, I'm trying to think of somebody. It's like we see them all the time, and it's like they're playing the same character over and over and over. It's like you always the bitter auntie, or you always the bitter mom, or you always the, but are you one to feel comfortable with embodying multiple different characters? Like I said, one role, you may be the overbearing dad, or the next role you may be, I don't know, the nice guy. The next role you might be a superhero. You know what I'm saying? It's like, would you feel comfortable with actually embodying those, in terms of diversity, in terms of the roles?
In acting, we call that range. In the
Range,
industry,
yeah,
you call it range. Do you have range? And yes, I do have range. I can't play everything, but I can play a good amount of things. With the proper time, with the proper training, the proper coach with me, I can work through a lot of different types of characters because I've been studying for 9, 10 years now. When I first got into it, no, because I was thinking I could just do it. Bring me in, man. I want to be me. That's what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks you can be a natural. And you can be a natural 1 or 2 times.
Right.
But what happens when you get on set and they tell you to do the same thing 10, 15 times straight, because you have to catch different angles, different lighting, it's your close-up, their close-up. Sometimes when you're doing independent films, you don't have stand-ins. So you have to continue and do these lines and do this role over and over and over to get the director what they want to see.
Right.
So I said that to say, yes, I have played the good guy. I played the psychopath, which is the good guy, and the bad guy, right? I played the doctor. I played the nurse. And I've done some of these things. I played a pilot. Some of these things I've done on some very large projects with some amazing talent, right? Besides Gillian Anderson and people of that nature who are still leading the way, and it's been great. It's been great.
Just being in the same room with those people, man. I'm gonna tell you, bro. When I watched Ruin, bro, Carrie Hilson, bro.
Listen, listen.
Carrie Hilson, man. Yo, watching that movie, I was like, I saw Carrie Hilson before, but I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even with her acting, like I didn't know she was like that in acting. You know what I mean? The way she embodied that role, and she was crazy, and I was like, okay, I got, and I like I said, I definitely have a certain level of respect, man, for acting, because, like I said, I don't personally feel like that. That's not her personality, you know what I mean? But she took on that role, man.
And when I was saying listen, that's what I thought you were talking about, by the way. When I say listen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Carrie Hilson is the utmost professional. She worked very hard from the small time I got to see her on set. And she showed mad love when she saw that I was there to work too. Her and the other individuals. Annie Alonzo, I actually got to work in the scene with Annie Alonzo.
Yeah, that was dope.
Listen to me.
That was dope.
She is a beast.
She a dope actress.
Yeah.
She does a really good job.
Everyone that had anything to do with that project, it was just a good, relaxed set. Everybody was like on it to get the job done. Director was amazing. Producers were amazing. Everybody that I met there was just great. And they and even though I had what would be considered a smaller role compared to the ones who led the entire film, I didn't get treated like that. I got treated like the professional that I felt like I am. I came, I produced, they produced, and we had a great project that came out of it. So yeah, kudos to Carrie for just treating everybody like humans, because she has been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And everybody doesn't act the same on set. She was literally, within minutes, it felt like I was talking to a cousin or a friend, and watching her perform is next to none to me. She's amazing. So yeah, that was great.
All right, man. So this question, man, I think it's a question that a lot of people want to know. I mean, I guess a lot of people want more insight on it. In acting, man, we always speculate, man, sex scenes. Sex scenes, we know they're not real, but they make them look real. So what is the what's the process of those type of scenes? Because I've heard that there are, they have certain things in between.
Yeah.
The actor or the actress or whatever the case may be. But what's the process of that, man? And how do they go about making everybody feel comfortable? So just tell us about that.
Well, from my experience, that's the thing, people being comfortable. Right. People have husbands, wives, people have mates, people have kids, but people have, they want to pay their bills and they want to give themselves over to this art fully when they have a moment like that. So I think that everyone has their own process. Again, you have your own techniques, how you get into character. And once you're there and they say action, from the camera angles to who the director is, everybody's protecting everybody.
Right.
Everybody is protecting everybody. And I think that everyone's been asked the questions they need to be asked to be sure that they're comfortable, even with the amount of people that will be in the room when you're doing the scene that are not even on camera.
Right.
So usually the great directors and the great staff, they take care of us very, very well with that. So by the time you get to actually doing what you got to do, everybody's on board, and it's just, you do your thing and then you get out of the way. Everybody leave it alone, make sure everybody's comfortable. That's it.
That's what's up. I'm sure, like I said, that answers a lot of y'all questions, because I've heard a lot of people asking that question. So, do you have any regrets, man? Do you have any regrets in terms of not getting into acting earlier in life? Because I think you said that you started
around
24, 25. So, and I guess I know you went to college route and everything. But looking back on it now, with where you are and just embarking on this journey, do you feel like this could have been something that you could have actually pursued coming straight out of like high school, or even while being in high school,
right,
kind of dabbling in it, so that once you kind of finished up and everything, you could kind of go in at full steam?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of two-sided, because when you start young, you don't get to experience life as much, right?
Yeah.
And the more experience that you have, it's like a bucket of tools,
right?
And you can pull out that wrench anytime, you pull out the hammer when you need it, right? But as a child, you're learning to imagine. You become a master of imagining how it should go.
Gotcha.
And both of them can work, right? If they're studying hard, if they're in the right schools or under the right tutelage, then it can work. But as far as being an adult actor in the beginning, which my mentor was as well, shouts out to Dwayne again. Dwayne Boyd said that he started around 25. And when you have all these tools, you've probably been through some relationships. You've had some friendships that didn't go well. You had some friendships that did go well. You've had a great relationship with your mother or father, or you didn't. You've seen people pass away that you grew up with. Or you've seen people go on to be millionaires, So you've seen all of this, and you've seen these people experience it, and you've experienced them. So I think that the most important thing is to just know that whenever it is brought to you, whenever you figure out this is what you are supposed to be doing, that from that point, you just begin your journey and you go all in with it, because it's not about, I know some child actors who we don't see anymore.
Yeah.
But like you said, Michael B. Jordan earlier, he was, 10 maybe when we started seeing him on TV, and he is killing it and hadn't ever stopped killing it since then. A well-respected brother to this day, and will continue and do it, I'm sure, Yeah.
5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years. Where do you see yourself, man? Where do you see yourself? Do you have any goals kind of set within that 5 to 2 year span? It's like, I want to accomplish this within that time frame.
And if we're speaking acting, I think that I do want to be well respected as an actor and working alongside these names that we've named and many others. I have many peers. You got people like Jay Fonz, Pat Walker. Man, I got great friends like Mac Wells, Keon Mitchell.
Now,
I can name them.
A lot of these guys are they kind of based in the Atlanta area?
Atlanta area, a lot of my guys. Even I have a great friend, Miss Gail Bean. She's out of Atlanta and LA.
Okay.
She's killing the game right now, man. She was on Snowfall. She played Wanda on
Wanda
saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I can name literally another 100 people, so I'm not trying to just name everybody, but these are the people that I want to be able to build with, and then we can all continue to create jobs for other people coming in behind us, because that's really what I want to be able to do. I'm the type of guy that likes to motivate, as you said before. Mm-hmm. I like to go before people, so the lumps that I've had to take, the no's that I've had to take, if I can teach somebody a better way to where they don't have to take as many but still respect the process, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I do have some projects that I'm working on creating for myself that I'll be able to, get with networks or be able to create myself and, give people jobs. I have to speak of Mr. Darren Henson as well, because that makes me think about we just created something very beautiful that was his project. And he called me in to work on with him and some amazing actors and actresses. Lemmy Ballard is on there as well, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Man, well, you got a lot going on, man. You got a lot going on, but it's I'm sure it's gonna be definitely fulfilling for you. And man, listen, this episode today was very informative. Mm-hmm. Very informative, man. I know even for myself, I know a lot of people have these questions. I see a lot of times on social media where people, they have different questions or have different concerns about, just different stuff. But for myself, man, I learned a lot today. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you learned some stuff today too. Yeah. But yeah. So man, we're gonna get ready to wrap this episode up, man. First and foremost, man, I want to thank you for coming out for sure.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, man. That's like I said. This is my guy, man. My bigger brother or older brother. The fact that you just being able to, man, I would say donate your time to come and speak with us today,
Anytime,
man. And just bless us with your presence, man. Is definitely appreciated, man, for sure.
Thank you.
For sure. So yeah. Like I said, I want to thank you again, man. And we're gonna wrap this episode up. But if you would, you can give everybody your social media handles, man, so that they can follow you on social media.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Travon Actor. That's pretty much what everything is under. Just continue to support, continue to uplift one another and me as well, because I will continue to need it along this journey. Thank y'all.
Yeah. So, like I said, once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in with us today. Like I said, Mr. Travon McEntyre, he blessed us with his presence today. Also, if you guys have not subscribed to our channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, comment, and share this video. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at Boss Moves the Podcast. That's at BOSSMOVESTHEPODCAST. Thank you guys for tuning in with us today, and we will be back next week with another episode.
Boss Moves.
Boss Moves. Cut.
And cut.
And cut.